Hello, welcome to the third module of the mushroom farming course. If you are just coming across this video, there is a module one that talks about the business opportunities in the mushroom industry, and module two that talks about what it takes to actually set up a mushroom farm for success. However, in this module, we'll be talking about the farm and site setup for mushroom. And our goal is to help you learn how to choose the best site, maintain hygiene, gather tools, and build a low cost growing space for your mushroom in your house, in your tent, with $200 or in Nigerian Naira, 150,000 Naira or less. This course is brought to you by Agrodemy, Africa's first agribusiness school. If you're watching this on YouTube, right, you have the opportunity to drop your comments and would respond to you. If you're watching this on the online Agric Business School, please look out for all of the documents that we have attached to help you and support you on your journey. Today, we're going to learn about the best places to grow mushroom, even in your small house, how to keep your grow space clean and healthy, the tools and materials you need, and how to build your own grow tent or mushroom house with less than $200. So let's get right into it. The first thing that you want to think about is site selection. So you want to think about, should I use an urban site or should I use a rural site? By urban site, you're talking about using your rooms, using your stores, using your dark corridors in your house. Remember, mushroom thrive in dark areas. If you don't know this, please go and watch the previous model, which is the model two. The advantage of growing your mushroom in urban areas, which is like your room, store, corridor, is that you're closer to market, less transportation cost, and it's easier to monitor because, like, you're in the house, obviously. The cons is that you have limited space, right? And there's more heat because heat is being generated from people's movement in the house, heat is generated from the kitchen in the house, when people even breathe in and breathe out. So you want to think about that. But if you're able to manage it, you will be very, very good. A typical example is growing it at the back of your house, the store at the back of your house, or an empty room in your house. These are the kind of places you choose to grow your mushroom. Then if you're in a rural environment, you want to think about using your farm, your backyard, or your shed. This is actually even closer to market, right? It's easier to also monitor because, like, okay, you live there, but then if you don't live close to the rural area, it becomes very difficult for you to monitor, and then it becomes very expensive to move to the market, especially if your rural community do not have a high buying power, meaning they don't buy it a lot. With town, you can sell to restaurants, high-end restaurants, and they're always usually everywhere. With rural, you're limited to like the local market. Now, something that we need to talk about is that you can be very far from your buyers, right? And that risk of contamination if you don't manage it very well, because now you have to travel long distance with them to take it to the high urban buyers who will be able to buy it for the value or for the price that you want. So think about growing your mushroom in your old goat house, your detached hut, or one unused store in the village. But something that I need you to pick from this knowledge of choosing a site is that just ensure that wherever site you choose is shaded, is cool, and is not waterlogged. Avoid areas with smoke, strong chemicals, or insects because mushroom honestly do not thrive in any of this. Then the next thing we want to talk about is ventilations and hygiene principles. So to succeed in mushroom farming, you must be clean like a lab. What is a lab? A lab is where people go to do scientific tests, right? What are the few hygiene rules you need to know? So think about, always enter your grow room with clean slippers and plastic shoes to avoid contamination. Something you can wash, right? Wash your hand before touching your bags. Don't allow your pet or your chicken inside where you are growing your mushroom. And keep clean water source, maybe a borehole, a filtered drain water, but make sure you have clean water source that you are using on your mushroom. And then for your ventilation, ensure that air can move, right? Because mushroom need oxygen during fruiting, and use netted windows or small vents. If it's too hot, use a small standing fan, or open the room early in the morning and in the evening for air to come in. when I used to work with a mushroom farm in 2017, something that we did was that our mushroom farm had the room we were using in our for our mushroom farming. We had an AC in it, so we used the AC to make the place very cold. And then very early in the morning, we come to just turn off the AC, so the temperature is pretty cold. And something that helped us was we bought a thermometer. So a thermometer was typically inside our house. So it helps us to know when like the place is no longer cold as we expect it to be. So if you can't afford a thermometer, I would always suggest that you have one. This is how you manage ventilation and hygiene in your mushroom in your mushroom business. So the next thing I want us to talk about is setting up like the mushroom house or tent. So there's an option A, right? And there is also an option B. So with the option A, choose a clean room, use black plastic nylon or shade net to cover your window so that you can block the light. Then use wood or metal rack, put it in layers and arrange the bags to sit on each of these layers. Then the fourth step is place a spray bottle, a watering can next nearby for misting. In my own mushroom farm, something that we did was we had syringe, like the syringe used for injection, right? And we use that to measure the water that we put. It is usually a very, very long process. So when we have our syringe and we say that okay, we are feeding all our mushroom bags with five mil of water, we go with 5 mil of syringe line after line, and just have like a standing fan or a air hose for ventilation. So for like I told you, in my own farm, what we used was we just had like an AC in the room. But if you cannot afford an AC, please a standing fan. Just make sure that you're coming in to rotate the fan from time to time. But don't forget to always wash your slippers, clean your hands just before you enter the mushroom farm at every given time. In setting up the mushroom farm, there's also an option B if you are deciding to use like your backyard with a bamboo stick and a trap. So few things, use your bamboo stick or your wood and make a frame. Then cover the side, cover the top with black plastic sheeting, right? Then inside to lay this wooden shelf or hanging ropes so that you can use it to hold the bag. Then the next thing you now need to do is cut small ventilation hole and cover it with mosquito net. That's the first thing you need to do. And then sweep and disinfect your floor every week because now you are in the field. And lastly, I would say just install like a washing station nearby with soap and water. Soap and water so that they can wash off their hand and rinse it very, very well. But the initial step is to first of all mark out an area, a small area either under a tree or beside your house before you begin to use your bamboo stick to make your frame. But that's not just it, right? When you're setting up like your mushroom house, let's now talk about the cost. So the bamboo trap can cost you like 60,000. The nylon bags like 10,000 naira. Your drums where you want to put in stuff, you would spend $12, 12,000 naira. Then you would also buy tools like your sprayer, your glove, your thermometer, syringe, right? If you don't want to use sprayer, and that can cost you around 18,000 naira. Then labor and cost because maybe you have somebody come help you just do the setup for one day, come help you fix everything. That could cost you 20,000 or more depending on where you are based. And then your sprouts, right? So we did the calculation on the basis that sprouts are sold around 300 naira per sprout and you will buy 100 bags. Why are we saying that? You just need to buy the bags and then hang it and water them and watch it grow. Usually, I would say these prices can switch depending on your location, but you should expect that in all you're doing, you should be able to spend up to 1,500 naira or 2,000 naira per pound bag. But the good thing is, from these 100 bags, you can be making 60 to 100,000 in 3 weeks. And once mushrooms start fruiting, they keep fruiting till they are done fruiting and they can fruit for a very long time. And let's talk about pro tips that can help you productive in your mushroom farm that you need to watch out for. So label each bag like with the date and the type of mushroom that is inside. Clean your tools after every use, and then make sure you check your bags daily for contamination. So if you notice that there is a mold growing, right, the mold that you see on a bread that is getting bad, if you see that it has a bad smell or is not more having a very good color, please, discard it. Check for it, discard it, or clear it out, cut it off. Then always wear clean hand gloves and face masks when you're in the mushroom farm so you don't breathe, bad air and begins to affect your farm. Then always have a logbook for tracking everything on the farm. So the day you bring in the crops, you note it down. If you give it 5 meal in the morning, at what time, you note it down. These data are very, very important in the mushroom. And every time you harvest, you always have a weighing scale. I like to say, please buy a weighing scale. It helps you. So that weighing scale is what you then use for every time you do a harvest. You scale it at fresh. Then if you are into the dry business, when you dry it, you also come and scale it at dry. It helps you to know that when someone is telling you that I want 30 kg of dried mushroom, you know the kg of wet mushroom you should have to get the person the dried that they are looking for. And because you have recording of how many the size of the kg or the quantity of mushroom you harvest every day, you would also typically know how many days it will take you on your own farm to get to that number. So you are able to give a more calculative and distinctive response to a buyer who is asking you for a large quantity. Alternatively, because you now also know how the size and quantity of mushroom that you harvest on a daily basis, if you are trying to expand your farm to reach a particular number, you'll be able to, calculate to say, okay, if 100 bags gives me 15 kg, it means that I can do 200 bags so that I can be having 30 kg every day to make me hit my target faster. So that's why it's good to keep logs and tracking sheets. As a recap, what have we learned in this video? We've learned how to site your farm either in urban or rural. We've learned how to maintain hygiene and ventilation. We've learned about the tools and the equipment that are very essential. And we have learned how to build a complete mushroom tent with a small budget. We have come to the end of this particular model. And in the next model, we'll be talking about how to prepare the substrate, which is that thing that is then put inside like the bag for the mushroom. We'll also learn how to bag it properly before we now start talking about like inoculating and having your mushroom grow. So I'll see you in the next module. Don't forget to let me know in the comment section what stood out for you in this particular module. Thank you.